Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the 1% Better podcast with your host, Josh Williams. It has been a couple weeks since I last hosted one of these episodes, and looking forward to getting back into your earbuds. So, today's topic is going to be life is hard either way. And this kind of comes about a couple different ways. When I was reading a really nice email I received from one of the physical therapists that I follow, I kind of just jogged some ideas. And also, it kind of came on the same week that I was completing my marathon. That my first marathon, if you don't know, some of you all know, been talking about it because, well, I've got nothing else to talk about in my life. But, I started training for it hard back in April. I was dabbling over the winter and completed it this last weekend. And it was hard. The funny thing, and maybe this is another episode on it, is going through it, I was like, I would never do this again. And now, 3 days removed, I'm like, maybe that wasn't that bad. And so your perspective changes as the soreness goes away. Again, I don't know. The verdict's out if I'll do one again. But there's a lot of lessons learned through the training, through going through the process, through completing it. And but one of the big things is choosing hard. Life is hard either way, and not trying to avoid it. And I kind of looked at it in kind of three big buckets for us, and kind of in the category of strength, nutrition, and then mindset. And one of the books I read early on in my life of reading, maybe it wasn't that early on, was The Art of Not Giving a Bleep. And I don't remember a whole lot about the book. I just remember, I think the pinnacle point of the book was, choosing what is hard. Regardless of life, there's going to be choices, and you're essentially choosing what challenges you want. Regardless, we're never going to avoid challenges. Challenges are always going to be there. And hopefully in life, we just have more and more opportunities to pick the challenges that we want to interact with. And ideally, those challenges are getting us to the place that we want to go, or, getting us to becoming the person that we want to become. And none of it comes without challenges. And so first up, talking about strength, we're big on getting people strong. The benefits of strength, I just love that more and more research comes out every day, it seems, or maybe more people that with authority are talking about it, but just the endless amount of benefits from just strength training, getting stronger and healthier. But the reality is training is hard. Strength training is uncomfortable. It is lifting something heavy, something that is challenging. Of course, doing it safely, but in itself, the body is like, this is harder than me doing nothing. It starts recruiting more muscles. You have to use your heart, you have to use lung capacity, you have to use energy. You might get sweaty. And so strength training takes time, it takes effort, it takes determination. You get sweaty, you can get sore from it. You might even question, like, why am I doing this today? I can be doing literally anything else that's not as hard as this. But the benefits of strength training are you're stronger, you're more capable, you have more energy, more freedom. It can even have the benefits of the mental side of being proud of yourself, being part of a community that you might not have in other areas. And so there's lots of benefits, but to get those, there are challenges, and it's hard. Versus the flip side, and again, I'm going polar opposites here. I know there's a spectrum, but let's paint a picture, is being sedentary. Being sedentary is hard as well. So if we are sedentary for a long period of time, we might have lower energy. Daily tasks become harder because we're not used to doing hard things. So again, our body and our mind typically prefer to do easier tasks that are going to give us some level of satisfaction, even how high or how low it is. We're wanting to choose easy. So daily tasks become tougher, whether that's getting upstairs, doing chores, playing with grandkids, being part of a beer league for baseball, whatever. They become harder, maybe more aches and pains because we're no longer using muscle, but we're using more bone-on-bone structures, which kind of feed into potentially wearing down of the joints and arthritis. And so again, also hard to be low in energy, hard to be dealing with traversing stairs constantly and making those decisions of, do I want to do this or not, based on, do I feel physically able to? So both are hard. It's choosing which one we want to be in. On another spectrum, we have, healthy eating versus, I'm just gonna put it as like ignoring nutrition. I don't want to say non-healthy eating. Maybe you can say like deliberate eating versus non-deliberate, bunch of different things. But the reality is to eating a well-rounded diet. And what does that, let's add some context here. Typically high in protein, moderate in carbohydrates and fats. Again, carbs want to be complex carbs versus simple like sugars. But for the most part, if we're cooking our own meals, has lots of color, not a lot of like butters and fats, we're doing pretty good. But it's hard. It requires planning. It's thinking ahead during the week. What am I eating at each meal? Or what do I have on hand? So it's grocery shopping. It's ignoring short-term cravings, knowing that it could be boredom, or it could be, a bunch of different things. It could be stress. It could be this or that. It's not actually that I'm hungry. And then making consistent choices regardless of the environment that you're in. So I might be out to dinner and all my friends are having dessert. I don't really want dessert, but then like, oh, everyone else is having dessert. So do I choose to do that, this or no? It's hard. It's a hard decision whether you do decide to have it or not. And so eating a well-balanced meal consistently and healthy is hard, but of course the trade-offs are ideally more energy, more health, more longevity, feeling better. On the other side, not paying attention is also hard. Again, kind of falling back into some more lethargy, potentially poor quality sleep, unwanted weight gain, increased risk of disease, and then, frustration potentially with the situation that we are in. And again, I am painting extremes. There is a plethora of places in between. But either way, nutrition can be hard, and it is hard. And it's choosing which one do you want to do. And then, the other ones is going to be this idea of, self-discipline versus, things I wish I did. And at the end of the day, growth is hard. It's challenging. It requires consistency, patience, and getting a little bit uncomfortable, learning new skills, trying new things. But staying the same is also hard. A lot of times if we stay the same, keep doing the same things, we look back, and I don't like the R word, regret. It's a hard word to look back and say, I really regret that I missed out on that opportunity because I didn't do X, Y, Z. I didn't prioritize this, and this. And, wishing it started sooner or feeling stuck. This all takes an emotional toll. It's also very hard. And so this is what I say is choosing your heart. Both are hard. And how to decide which one is looking ahead in life. Where do I want to be? Where do I see myself? Looking back on my life, if I'm, on my deathbed, what are the things that I regret? Commonly people will say, spending more quality time with friends and family, or spending more time with your kids. Am I working on doing that? It's hard. Like for me, I love the job that I do, and it can be all consuming sometimes. But I also know that there's a strong chance I will regret those small moments of being with my children. And so in that moment, though it's easy for me right now to continue to do work when I'm spending time with them, or at the bus stop with my daughter this morning, what's hard for me is, putting away work and just being in that moment and enjoying it and knowing that I'm not going to have that, and continuing to choose that so that when I'm older, I'll know that I had those moments. Not easy, but hard. That's one of my hards that I have to go into, because the easy thing I know is not going to lead me to where I want to go. And so it's knowing where you want to go. So that's the first thing. It's not always easy, but it is kind of looking back, like, what are the things I regret? It doesn't matter how old you are or where you're at. There's always things that we can be doing to improving ourselves and getting closer to doing the things that we want to do. It's never too late. The big thing is to start small. So in any hard thing, so when I was training for my marathon, I didn't just start out long distances. I started out with, like a 3-mile run. So little compared to 26 miles. 3-mile run, slowly built up to 5, then 8s, then 10s, then 12s and 13s. and so on, and stack that over months and months. And making hard changes, or just making a change, which is hard, all starts with small, consistent changes. And so, going back to maybe one of my things of work, that might be, okay, I'm going to put my cell phone in a drawer in the bedroom or somewhere away for these hours in the day. That's going to be hard. But consistently picking something small that I can hit, 90% of the time. So pick something small, not something huge, like I'm never going to do this again. That's usually going to lead to failure. Pick something small, build on that stack, and then each couple of weeks reassess if it's getting easier, because now that hard, your body's used to it, so it's not as hard. And then we can slowly, increase incrementally. And so again, don't double it, meaning, okay, there's gonna be an hour when I'm with my kids, I'll have none of that, and then doubling it to 2 hours. No, maybe it's like, I'm gonna bump that window 15 minutes or something like that. So choose your hard, break down, know where you want to get to. And then once you decide what maybe hard decisions you want to start choosing to work on, make them chunk size, make them small, so that you can succeed and stack those wins. Again, thank you so much for tuning in today. You have a great rest of your week. And if you're new on the fitness journey and looking for guidance or help, Sperling Fitness is here for you, for the people that need help on the fitness journey, that need the coaching, that want a welcoming and strong supportive community to get you on the path to a healthier life. That is what we are all about. And I hope to see you all in person or be in your earbuds very soon.